Okay, peeps, welcome back. So today we're going to be talking about TSLY versus NVDY. Which one is a better long-term investment in terms of passive income? Let's get it. So the first thing that I want to bring up here on Yahoo Finance is the overall analytics for both NVIDIA and Tesla. So as you guys know, the YieldMax ETFs options in general are based on volatility. They pretty much use the volatility of the underlying asset to determine to base on whether whether it's going to have a higher payout or a lower payout. As you guys can see, the market cap for NVIDIA is over $1 trillion. The beta is roughly about 3/4 as volatile as the SPX. And they do actually have a dividend that they pay out, but as you guys can see on the yield, the dividend is very, very, very small. It's very, very little. As a matter of fact, while we're on here, let's go ahead and take a look at NVIDIA's actual dividend payout so you guys can see it for yourself. Just so you know, I do not invest directly in NVIDIA. So in terms of growth plays, I typically go with small cap or micro cap stocks. I don't put money in something big like NVIDIA. But as you guys can see, they do have a dividend. It's really, really small, and they also have had a looks like a dividend cut here. I don't know if this is because of a stock split or what the case is, but it's pretty small. So if you compare that to something like NVIDIA, the most recent payout was huge. You got 92 cents in 1 month. I mean, that pretty much, you're making 3 times as much money in passive income in 1 month than you would have in a single year in NVIDIA per share. Not to mention NVIDIA's way less expensive than NVIDIA. So we're going to go back to the analytics page here. You guys can see that they've been beating estimates. That's a good sign for the underlying stock. The revenue has grown substantially, although the earnings on NVIDIA looks like came down slightly year over year between 2022 and 2023, but based on the price action, the markets didn't really seem to care too much. As you guys can see on the analyst estimates, pretty much all these guys are bullish. You can see their buys and or outperforms. The high is all the way up at $1,000. So from analyst perspective, do I think NVIDIA is a great stock to buy? Yeah, I do. I mean, Amazon, I'm trying to think of who it was. Amazon was at $3,000 a share before their stock split. Google was over 1,000. I believe Netflix was almost 1,000, and Tesla was pretty close to 1,000 too. So it is possible for NVIDIA to hit 1,000, and what that would mean for TSLY, or not TSLY, NVIDIA, is that NVIDIA would go up massively too. So we'll go over to Tesla and compare the volatility on Tesla to NVIDIA. So you guys can see that Tesla is a little bit more volatile than NVIDIA. But in contrast to this, NVIDIA's price swings are much larger than Tesla's typically. Again, Tesla's focused on multiple different areas of the market. Tesla is, so they're into robotics, they're into robo-taxis, self-driving software. They have their car company. They have their Dojo AI supercomputer. There's no telling what else they're going to get involved in. NVIDIA is more niche, so they create chips and now AI chips, but that's basically mainly their thing is chips, semiconductor chips that they can apply to pretty much every sector of the market. So from that perspective, that would basically make NVIDIA the kingmaker in terms of chips. So if we take a look at, before we do this, let's actually go look at the charts. So we'll just do a quick snapshot comparison. So from the high to the low here on Tesla, you can see it was about a 75% drop. Again, you got to understand that Tesla is extremely volatile. A lot of these stocks move based on what the owners or the CEOs say, i.e. forward guidance or what the earnings do. And there are also some macro factors like the Fed raising rates and whatnot. But as you can see from the low to the high, you're talking 193% or as much as 130%. You get some pretty large swings on Tesla too. So From the opening price to the low is a 42% drop. Again, that's not as much as 75%. If you had bought in Tesla at the top and held to the bottom, you would have lost 3/4 of your money compared to 42% on this one. And from the low to the high, about 49%. From the low to where we are right now, it's only about 5%, or up, I should say, only up about 5% from the lows. So that's TSLY and Tesla. We're going to take a look at NVIDIA and NVIDIA. All right, so we got NVIDIA and NVIDIA. As you guys can see, it's a totally different chart. NVIDIA is creating higher lows and higher highs. And again, the NVIDIA chart is a little bit more volatile. And I say this one more time. I think the reason why NVIDIA is more volatile than Tesla is because Tesla is kind of chopping around and NVIDIA is actually going up. So the price swings are pretty huge here. As you guys can see from the high here, the local high, to the low, you have about 66%. So the drawdown's not as huge as Tesla. And then from the low to the most recent high, you have as much as 380%. So the upside is much more substantial than what Tesla's is. But keep in mind, Tesla is not back at all-time highs. NVIDIA is, and it's just recently having a pullback. So NVIDIA's price year-to-date so far return is about 300%. So if you had bought NVIDIA at the bottom, you would have made about 4 extra money. And they do pay a dividend. Tesla does not pay a dividend. But again, in terms of passive income, if you're looking for growth, buying the underlying stock would be the answer. You'd want to buy NVIDIA or Tesla at support levels. If you want to basically 2, 3, 4 extra money, that's what you would be looking at. But if you're looking for dividends and passive income, NVIDIA and TSLY are the answers. So if you buy into the covered call ETFs, you're going to give up some of the price potential in exchange for the passive income. Just understand that. So from the low to the high on NVIDIA, you got about a 35% rip to the upside. And from the high to the low, or where we currently sit now, down about 20%. But as you guys can see here on the price comparison between NVIDIA and TSLY, NVIDIA is holding up much better than TSLY. So NVIDIA from the local high is only down about $4, and NVIDIA is holding up pretty substantially well. In comparison to TSLY, which from the local high to the low right here is down about $5. But, TSLY's quite a bit cheaper than NVIDIA. Now, in terms of the passive income, there's a bit of a trade-off here. So NVIDIA's payout has not been as consistent as TSLY. So that's something to keep in mind. Again, we have about, I think, 130 shares or so in NVIDIA, and we have roughly about 600 shares in TSLY. Now that NVIDIA's had its pullback, we are definitely going to be picking up some more of these shares, but you can see that the rough estimate here is between 75 to 95 cents. So it's a bit of a range there. And as far as TSLY is concerned, and again, the dividend yield is in comparison to the current price of the covered call ETFs. So even though you can see that the distribution rate here is pretty similar, it's based on the price. So even though the price between TSLY and NVIDIA is pretty large, the payment amount is going to look slightly different than the yield because, again, yield is based on what the given price is at the time. So with TSLY, you guys can see that it's much more consistent. It was pretty much between 80 cents to $1. Until recently, we've had a couple payouts that were considerably lower than that 80 to $1 payout, and it has a longer history than NVIDIA does. But again, Tesla and NVIDIA are two different things. Tesla's kind of like a wide moat company. They invest in a lot of different major future adopted technologies and sectors of the market, whereas NVIDIA is just one thing. They use that one thing to branch out into the market. So it's essentially the opposite. Tesla is trying to dip their hand in many pots, whereas NVIDIA has the one pot, but they're taking cookies out of the jar, so to speak, and putting them in different sectors of the market. So they basically have diversity among their chips, with NVIDIA versus Tesla has diversity among their markets. So we go over to the dividend calculator. I got some metrics put in here for you guys. So you can see that we have Tesla in here. We got all of that stuff put in. It pays monthly. We do want to reinvest. The starting amount would be basically $1,000 divided by the current price, which is 1308. So you get 76 shares. You put in $1,000 a month. You will have to pay taxes. It's probably going to be more than this, most likely, because don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty certain that TSLY is not going to be considered to be a what is it called? A qualified dividend. But that's something you're going to have to ask your CPA about. So we got our current yield here, 52%. No dividend increase. Again, the reason I put 0 here is because the dividends are all over the place. They're based on options volatility, so we don't know what we're going to get from one month to the next. 1% per year price appreciation for 10 years. And so basically after 4 years, you'd be at $32,000 a year. 5 years, you'd be at $57,000 a year, which ranges from about, I think, roughly $2,500 to somewhere around $4,500 a month. So we're going to change this to NVDY. We do want to reinvest the dividends back into the fund. And if we take a look at the price of NVIDIA, currently it's 21.26%. So we're going to put that in. 21.26 number of shares. So we're just going to use a hypothetical number of $1,000 for an initial investment into NVIDIA. Divided by the share price, you get 47 shares. So you're not going to get as many shares as you would with Tesla, but again, it's two different funds, so it's not going to look exactly the same. The idea here is to buy as many shares at a low price as possible to either produce your overall income, to increase the overall income in the immediate or long-term future. So put in $1,000 a month. You get your dividend yield here of 53.01%. This is 0, but the share price appreciation at 1, which is probably going to be more than 1 because, again, it's NVIDIA. This thing usually has some pretty serious moves to the upside. So calculate the dividends, and as you guys can see, the metrics are roughly about the same over a 4 and 5 year time frame. So you get about $2,500 a month after 4 years. And you get about, I'd say, a little bit less than Tesla after 5 years. So, it's still about $4,000 a month. That's pretty good, if you ask me. So which one do I think is better in terms of Tesla versus NVIDIA? Well, it's honestly hard to say. Again, NVIDIA's price performance has been a little bit better than Tesla's. You guys can, let's actually pull up the chart here one more time. So side-by-side comparison. So you guys can see currently that, don't mind all the pivot points. This is a different thing for something different that we're doing. So as you guys can see, NVIDIA has broken through its previous peak here and gone to new highs, whereas Tesla has not. And Tesla's kind of lagging behind a little bit, so it needs to play catch up here, basically. The bottom line is it's just going to take time for Tesla to get back to the all-time highs. In terms of which one I think is better, that's kind of a tough call. Honestly, I can't really say one is better than the other because they both have extremely bullish outlooks. Extremely, extremely bullish. I would say more people are probably more bullish on NVIDIA than Tesla in the most immediate short term, but I personally am bullish on both. I have shares in both. I have a little bit more Tesla than NVIDIA. The reason why is because Tesla was around a little bit longer when I got in. NVIDIA only had one payout. So Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this content. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts about NVIDIA and TSLY down below, and I'll see y'all later. Peace.